This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas. Magazine publisher and entrepreneur Judith Mancini is sharing captivating conversations with experts in their field about the latest trends in our ever-changing world to help you become healthy, wealthy, and wise. Judith Mancini today will spark your interest and inspire you to lead your best life ever. And now, here's Judith.
Good day, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. I apologize for being a few minutes late. It's been one of those mornings. Unbelievable, as I got up at 5 a.m. LA time. Just kept coming at me, all these things. First of all, I'm getting dressed and I'm doing my hair because I was late doing my hair and my makeup. You know, I don't know why, but I don't have hair and makeup assistants here. So I just finished doing my hair and I look like I've been in bed. Maybe it's because I use this new thing that you're supposed to tip your head upside down and spray the roots to give you that tousled bedroom look. That's the name of it, bedroom look. It's from Kevin Murphy from Australia. Well, it's not hairspray to keep it down. And you know my hair is always a mess because I've never been clever at doing it. So I sprayed the thing all over my head and my head was kind of wet. So I'm frantically doing this. And then I finally said, oh, to heck with it. I hope you still love me because my hair is a mess. My makeup is wrong. That's because so much is going on. We're going to have some exciting news for you next week as my partner that allows me to be on his K4HD.com and all of the other stations is working on something with me. And I'm going to start doing some other things that might be of interest to you. Oh no, they more than might be, they will be of interest to you. So I'm doing that and I got caught late. And there's so much news going on today. I know I'm going to talk about Kamala and Donald, the Donald, as Ivana used to call him, the Donald, a little bit later. But first, I want to say, in case you haven't turned on your radio or your computer, gotten on your phone to get on the internet, the United States is getting I think it's up to 5 now, prisoners from Russia in exchange for 8 of their guys. That was the latest that I saw. So of the people coming home that I know about, because I'm behind on the news now that I'm on air, one is Dershowitz, which is the young man who is a journalist for the Wall Street Journal. So we're happy about that. And Paul Whelan, who is a retired Marine. And he's been there 16 years, I believe, something like that. So we're happy that those 2 are coming home. I did see that another American was coming home, and she was listed as a resident American. All I can figure out, because I didn't have time to look up what that meant, is she must be married to an American, something like that, and be the wife of an American. And that's how she holds her passport at this time, her citizen papers. So that was interesting to me. I'm keeping an eye on it. There seems to be up on the television right now, four people that are coming home. The lady I just spoke of and one other gentleman. And I don't have any more information than that. So that's been keeping me interested this morning. And then, of course, before we really get into Kamala and Trump, former President Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris, I want to speak a little bit about the Black Journalist conference they had, in which they invited Kamala Harris and former President Trump. Okay, excuse me as I finish getting dressed. So, what happened was former President Trump was left sitting in the green room for over 35 minutes when they just kept telling him there's something wrong with the sound equipment. But it sounded to me like they didn't even have the courtesy, besides the Secret Service people, to send somebody into the room, into the green room. The green room, if you don't know, I'm sure you all do, it's where you wait before you go on air, either on radio, podcasts, television, those kind of things. I don't know that there was anybody in there for him to talk to besides the Secret Service people, and they weren't exactly updating him all the time. So they were running late because of their sound equipment. It seems to me they could have checked it before, but I guess they didn't. So at any rate, that set President Trump off. Now I watched this whole thing. And when he walked in and he sat down, the woman from ABC, and I'm sorry, I don't know any of their names. I only know Kamala Harris, who I am so proud of. If you don't know her, she's a Fox News host and co-host. She's on the Harris, her own show, and excuse me, on Outnumbered, which was her creation also. At any rate, she's a Black woman and a wonderful journalist. She really checks her facts and she gives both sides of it. And she is like the motto of Fox News. She's fair and balanced, and I think she's excellent at her reporting and her guest interviews. At any rate, she kind of held it together, quite frankly, for this interview with President Trump. And the lady from ABC just got on the wrong side of President Trump. And I can understand why they were asking him crazy questions, rude questions. She was. And he was irritated. He was irritated that they didn't get him out there sooner and didn't really tell him exactly what was going on. And they could have done all these sound checks before. And then when he got on stage, it wasn't totally great for him being able to hear Harris Faulkner down at the very end. And they were spaced so far apart that they couldn't hear each other. It sort of looked like they were afraid of getting COVID or some other contagious disease or something. It was weird. It was not a good set for talking to, I think there were 4 interviewers or 3 interviewers, moderators from the conference, Black journalists, and then there was President Trump. And it was very difficult to hear and talk. So they got into it, the woman from ABC and President Trump. Now, the biggest argument they had, and I'm not going to speak on every single thing that happened, but I think this is very imperative because we are having an election coming up. One of the moderators, it wasn't Harris, asked Trump why he doesn't think Kamala is Black. And where she picked this up, I guess it was in some kind of speech he made at a rally or something. I don't know. I didn't hear him say that. But that doesn't mean he didn't say it. It just means I didn't hear it. So this woman said he has said that Kamala isn't Black and she's turned Black all of a sudden so she could run as a Black female liberal Democrat. Well, I have several people that are amongst my friends that are Black, and we've never had that discussion before. I'm not sure why Trump said that until he explained that when he first heard of her and first met her, she claimed her Indian from India and Jamaican father as her parents. And apparently, President Trump and many of us never thought of people from India being Black or any other country as far as that goes. We all assume, because it's been going on for years in the United States, that Black people were African American, which many of them weren't, but their history goes back to coming from Africa, as you all know. We won't get into the right or wrongness of that. Personally, I think it's wrong, but we're not going to discuss that part of it. What we're discussing is the fact that there is no reason for this election to be going into the race question. This is ridiculous. Now, Trump also said that he was the best president for the Black community since Abraham Lincoln. And I kind of think he is, because the Democrats, if you will notice, which Charles Payne said yesterday, is when the jobs question came up, when Trump said that Black people and the Latino communities all had better jobs and higher employment rates when he was president, that caused a big problem. That's where the question of race came in. And Kamala is highly incensed, and it came out through one of these moderators. So all I have to say about this is, let's keep race out of it. We can keep the employment part in, and that is true that those communities had higher employment and higher wages. Excuse me, my partner over here, shut that, it's making noise. Thank you. So I want to see it taken out of the campaigning and all, but I'm afraid it's going to stay in, so I'm very disappointed. Where is the new vice president that's running with Kamala? Read between the lines on this one. She is definitely looking for somebody that will believe her turn in policy. And what I mean is, one of the people she has on her list is the governor of Pennsylvania. Now, what a lot of you don't know about me is what I've done in my previous career life. I was involved in the C-suite of a natural gas exploration and production company. And it was in Pennsylvania. And at the time, I was living in Pennsylvania with my new husband. So I was asked to join this company, and I willingly did. And there was some fracking going on. And I personally support fracking. I know if you're a green person and you want everything to be esoteric, you don't want fracking. You don't want any kind of things. You don't care that there are windmills in the ocean that are inoperable and breaking off and killing fish, and the noise coming out of them are scaring the dolphins and the whales, and you don't care about that thing. You just care about taking down or putting up the windmills, but they're really not cutting down the energy costs. They're just disturbing our sea life. But you can have both energy saving devices, just don't put them in the ocean. How can you then tell the fishermen that they have a limit on how many fish they can fish in certain spots because you want to keep the planet green? None of this makes any sense. Most of what the Green Party, the Green people want are detrimental to our way of life. And we can be conscious of recycling and all of that. Raise your kids to be like that. When my children were young, we lived in Lake Tahoe and we were very conscious of the environment and how to conserve things. And we started recycling way up there, and we ate fish out of the lake if we fished. So think about all these things that these people are saying and see what you think about them. We need to cut our energy costs because do you like paying $7 for gas in the state of California? You guys that live in the East Coast and in the Midwest are complaining about $3 a gallon. What about us out here? Now, look, I didn't vote for Kamala Harris, and you all know it. And I didn't vote for her when she was a senator or when she became, did I support her when she became Attorney General? I never did. I didn't like how she comported herself. I was never a fan of hers. Now, California is a very leftist state, and a lot of the movie colony like to say, in particular, let's talk about Barbra Streisand. She was so vocal in the 2016 election where former President Trump won. She said she'd move out of California. Actually, she said she'd move further than California. She'd move out of the country. Well, she's been posting on Facebook now with her hubby saying, if he wins, I'm moving out. I'm moving out of the country. Well, then go, because he very well may win. We hope he does. Why do these people make ridiculous contributions and make ridiculous statements about people who don't hold them, don't help them? Just like Biden saying, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. Now, what kind of a baloney statement is that? What has he done for our black population? Nothing. He says he gave them more jobs, but did he help them get into schools? Did he help them raise up? He says he's contributed money to different things. I don't know. I haven't seen his tax return. I don't know what he's done in the United States to help these people. Forever, the Democrat Party has held minorities down, starting with the black population after the Civil War. Can't you look at a person and judge them by their character? I don't get it. God created us all. We're all equal that way. At least that's my belief. Probably another thing that I never want to bring up in political discussions, because they all think I'm patting myself on the back, but I raised my children the way I was raised, to love everybody of every color, race, creed, religion, being free to speak what they thought. And we had a young man from New York. His mom sent him out to the private school my son was going to, and to his father to raise, because she was afraid he was going to get involved with the gangs where he lived in New York. So he came out here and he went to the school my son went to. And the school was asking if anybody could take him in. This is one reason I didn't like the school. Nobody would volunteer. Now, this was a Christian school. When I heard that, because I was not as active in that school as I should have been more active than just giving the kids the parties and the holidays and things like that. This is high school, by the way, senior high. nobody would take him in. And I said, well, we have an extra bedroom. It's the guest room. You get Jelani over here. He can live with us. And he did for about a year and a half until he graduated. Nicest kid I have ever seen. Became very good friends with my two kids that were in high school, different schools. Megan went to all girls school, and took him to the theater. I think we took him to the theater to see Les Miserables. And with us, my son and I took him. He was just as good and nice and intelligent, friendly as anybody else in that school. But in my mind, he was better than them because they wouldn't take him into their house. So we still occasionally communicate. He's off with his own life and his own career, and he's got 3 or 4 children now. I forget. So that's an interesting story. So let's talk about Kamala. You know, her father was a Marxist, like, in simple terms, liking communist views more than democratic views. Another person who had a father who was a Marxist is Obama. Mr. President Obama. Now, when the 2016 election came out and everybody was doing the debating, Kamala was doing debating for the Democrats for her to get a nomination. And I thought, wow, there's a woman. We can use a woman if she is qualified. At the time, I didn't even realize that she is Black. I just thought she was a person. I didn't understand what was going on. What I did understand was she couldn't answer the debate questions. And I was familiar of her from having lived in California during some of the time she was in office. So as she started talking, I thought, well, she's not changed. She's free the criminals and legalize drugs so that they don't have to go around stealing and buying them. Crazy, crazy stuff. Sort of like Newsom wanting all of us to sit at home and not be able to go out to dinner, but he goes to the French Laundry. Well, that was the downfall of California. So I knew who she was, but I didn't know what she had done. And I'm still not sure exactly what she's done. But I will say that she was the first one to not get any votes in a primary and in a debate. And she quit. She just said, I've had enough. I quit. I back out. I'm staying here in California. Well, holy moly, we don't want her here in California. But they thought the same thing I did, apparently, in the Democrat Party, because here she is as the vice president. I don't know one thing she's accomplished. They're coming out with reports of that she's been busy every single day, that she has meetings with all these people. She couldn't even get her behind down to the border. She was in favor of tearing down the wall that Trump built. And what are we faced with? Illegal immigrants, illegal, non-vetted getaways that are now raping and killing our citizens. What is it? Oh, I know what it is. Letting all those people climb over the fences, tearing down the barbed wire, running into our country, trying to hide, And then Biden or somebody in that administration charters 2 airplanes and puts them on them and takes them back east. Oh, nobody wanted them in Nantucket. Well, I know why they want them. Because Kamala wants illegals to be able to vote. Just give them a driver's license. It doesn't matter if they've had 5 DUIs for driving under the influence of drugs or alcohol. It doesn't matter if they've killed anybody. They're not vetted. Now, we do know that there are at least 5 people that are on the international terrorist list roaming around someplace we don't know. So another policy that Kamala, Ms. Harris wants, VP Harris, I keep forgetting, what she wants to do is approve abortion with no time limits on it. Now, I've told you before, I'm a Republican and I'm a conservative, and I'm a Christian, but I am in favor of abortions. And I'm not in favor of no term limits on abortions. Early abortions for good reasons is okay in my mind. The mother's in danger, the baby is having terrible problems. It may be stillborn. I know it goes against most Christian beliefs, but I do believe there is a time and a place for it. But it can only be early abortions. It can't be any of this nonsense that VP Harris thinks that up to the time of birth, you can murder that baby. Okay, I don't want to get stuck on abortion and how some of you feel and how I feel. It's a very personal decision. I don't know if a man feels that strongly about it or not. I'm not a man. So I don't know about that. So we've covered fracking, which Kamala doesn't understand the energy that we could lower the gas prices and all of that. We could also be, we have so much natural gas and all in the state of Pennsylvania that we could become an exporter again and sell it to other countries, thus enhancing our economy. But she doesn't think about that, or she does, and she thinks she's going to win votes like that. Well, let's talk about some of the things that Joe Biden promised to reverse in his second term, which now Kamala has taken up some of them. One of them is putting some restrictions on Muslim travelers from some of the countries that are not friendly to us, putting restrictions on their passports. That doesn't say he's keeping them out. He's putting restrictions on them for different things. And I'm in favor of that. So you should be too, because, well, first of all, you can fake your passport, so you need to be vetted. But unfortunately, these people who have committed atrocities in this country are Muslim. And that doesn't mean I do have Muslim friends. One of them is my dear doctor. That if you go back in my podcast, you can see me interview her on Judith Mancini today. So she's a lovely woman and an excellent doctor. Well, immigration covered, taxes. Oh, yes. Well, while former President Trump was trying to lower our taxes. VP Harris wants to raise the taxes. She wants everybody to pay more money. And I've spoken before on taxing the rich more. I think how stupid it is when they are the ones that give so much to charities, philanthropy, be it for medical reasons, health reasons, or be it to build libraries, art museums, symphonies. Think about all of this because she wants to get rid of all of it. Now, there is a list of things she wants to do, and many of them are interesting. I had to write them down here, sorry. I can't even see in here today. Well, I can't even read it, so I'm sorry. I got so wound up with the prisoners being released today, I'm a little behind in things. So, first of all, how in the world did she declare herself the nominee for the Democrat Party? What happened to all the voters for Biden that have been disenfranchised since the primary? How come she never told us that he was starting to fail both physically and mentally? There is no shame in getting dementia. There is no shame in getting weak and having a problem walking. It's how we age. It's how some people age. Not all people. But if you are in a position of power of the greatest and most respected, at least we were, country in the world, it makes a few questions surface. Now, if you go back on some of my podcasts, you'll see that I once had Buzz Patterson on my show. He is a former military guy who was in charge of the nuclear codes when Clinton was in office. So he took that little bag around with all the nuclear codes in it. And I respect him. He's an author now, and he's written several books. He came on to talk about his book he wrote about during his time with President Clinton. That is a very serious job. He now recently has posted on his Facebook page and probably everywhere else that he thinks it's terrifying to know that President Biden still has access to those codes. And he feels, along with a lot of other people, that perhaps he should leave office. I totally agree. Of course, Vice President Kamala wants him out of office, but then why doesn't she institute the 25th Amendment? The man is not capable of managing our great free country. This is the perfect time for the four major countries that are gunning for us. Of course, I lost my notes on this too. So, first of all, we'll go to North Korea with Kim Jong-un. He's perhaps the least volatile of the other three that won't come and attack us. They will attack South Korea and maybe Taiwan with the Chinese. I'm not sure about that, but think of the relationship that he and President Trump had. Everybody says, well, that's ridiculous. So Trump walks over the line and all. But did he make an attack on the United States then? He gets very excited and very angry. And he has threatened many times. And he certainly threatened South Korea, which is a democracy, all the time. All the time. I have friends that live in Seoul. It is so frightening to me. I worry about them constantly. Okay, the next three, in my mind, could attack us this afternoon. I'm not a conspiracy person, but just look at the news. What is happening? There is, of course, Vladimir Putin, who is the president of Russia, and he has the right to carry out instructions to attack at any time. Now look what he's done to Ukraine, and that is because we haven't been strong enough to stop this. I'll tell you, I don't think he would have ever attacked Ukraine if President Trump was still in office. Then there's Khashoggi, Karamachi. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce their names and I can't read my writing. Iran is frightening because instead of them attacking us, they send people like Hamas and Hezbollah, those people to attack us and to attack our allies. That in itself is very frightening. Of course, Iran is pretty close to nuclear weapons that they could shoot off at us. And don't think if you live in certain parts of our country that that's okay. And the other one is Xi Jinping. He is the general secretary and the controller of the military. And he hates us. And he particularly hates us because we're trying to stop human organ harvesting in China. And of course, I think he's very frightened because we know that COVID-19 came from China. So he wouldn't mind getting rid of us too. All right. So, of course, Vice President Harris is a woman, and I don't think she's a very strong woman. And the reason I don't think she's a very strong woman is she apparently was afraid to go to the border, our southern border, and look at it and see what had been done correctly by President Biden. Now, remember, this was 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago. And she doesn't like to talk about it, except to give the people, once they're here, the right to vote. But I honestly think she was afraid to go because she did go down towards Mexico, but not across the border or to the border. How is she going to deal with the president of Mexico? Remember when he sent 28,000 troops to us to help guard that border? Do you think he'd do that for Kamala Harris? No, for number one, she wouldn't even ask. So we have a big problem here. And she lies. She says things that she's never done. How she got into office, I'll never know. Former President Trump likes to say she couldn't pass her bar exam, but there's lots of people that don't pass their bar exam in the first run. So I can't take that into consideration unless she did it more times than that. But who knows? I can't think of one good thing she did for California. I think she is somebody who cackles all the time and has hissy fits. Why would she have 92% of her team, her people who worked in her office, why would they quit? That's beyond me. I can't even imagine it. If you did that as CEO of a company and 90% of your team walked out on you, you wouldn't be CEO anymore. There was something wrong with you. And apparently she goes off on people. Oh, I should be careful how I talk on this, because I understand the reason she wears pants all the time is because her knees are a little bruised permanently. Oh dear. I don't want to get into that. That's not a very nice thing to say, but I have it on good authority. It's true. So, what are we going to do? Well, next week I'm going to talk about the Donald's background, the Donald Trump president and his policies and what he did. I will never forget two things that the Democrats did to show such disrespect and stupidity to our legally elected President Donald Trump. Well, of course, they made sure he didn't get reelected. We all know that farce of the voting machines and harvesting votes that should have never been done, and the videos that were on every news station with people stuffing the ballot box at 2 a.m. Just think what it'll be like with all these immigrants getting driver's licenses and being allowed to vote illegally. What an affront. What a ghastly thing to do to our legal immigrants, like my husband, like my daughter's husband, like some of my girlfriends. It's terrible what they are doing, letting people in without being vetted, without being looked at, without having to live here to make sure they're good citizens and they can contribute to our society as well as we contribute to their good health and good welfare and freedom. So that is what I have to say about that. She's the first woman to become vice president, but I don't think that gives her the right to shield Joe Biden from his psychological and physical disabilities coming up. Nor do I think it's right that she sneaks in and gets him to resign in such a way that people humiliated him. He deserves the right to be respected during this time, but he should be out of office. I think that the way she has just assumed that she is going to be the nominee and where she has gone following and basically in President Trump's footsteps around the country for her rallies. When Joe Biden was going around the country, he couldn't draw more than 3,000 at the very most to his rallies. And look at Trump. They couldn't make him stop the rallies. So what they do, I don't know who did it. I don't know who told that kid to do it. But I do know that there is a terrible problem within our Secret Service, our FBI, and probably the CIA and all of this, how a president running for office a second time could be the victim of an assassin attempt is beyond me. But we will fight. And we will dig deeper, and I will give you some more facts on Kamala and why I do not want her to be running our country. little things like putting herself in for the nominee. Now, it will be interesting who she does pick for her vice president running mate. We'll see what happens. So with that, people, I want you to go eat a healthy meal today. I don't want you to eat a lot of fat, a lot of preserved foods or processed foods. I want you to eat healthy because you know what? We're in the fight of our lives. We're in the fight of our lives to preserve our democracy. And that's another thing. I think there should be a law enacted that says if you take our American flag and burn it up in any kind of demonstration, you should be arrested, you should be jailed and fined for desecrating our flag. Now, I also think that you should look up how Kamala Harris a couple of years ago looked at all the riots across the country in the different areas and tell me if you approved of what she did. I don't think so. So that's my reading between the lines today. And I'm sorry I got so involved with these prisoners being released. Oh, that's the other thing. Before next week, I want you to look and see what President Biden lists as his accomplishments and what Kamala Harris, VP, lists as her accomplishments. It's interesting to me that some things have only been done recently to try to garner the votes for their party. I don't think it's going to work. Okay, everybody, eat those healthy meals. Take a walk today. The more you walk, the longer you live. The faster you walk, the longer you live. Be happy. Relax. Think about your mental health. Self-care is very good. And study this election and the facts. We'll be back next week, same time, same place. Or maybe I could finish my studio. That would be nice. All right. Remember, cherish yesterday, dream tomorrow, and live today. Thanks for joining me.